Welcome to Becoming a Sleep Consultant. I'm your host, Jane Havens, a certified sleep consultant and founder of both Snooze Fest by Jane Havens and Center for Pediatric Sleep Management. On this podcast, I'll be discussing the business side of sleep consulting. You'll have an insider's view on launching, growing, and even scaling a sleep consulting business. This is not a podcast about sleep training. This is a podcast about business building and entrepreneurship. This week on the Becoming a Sleep Consultant podcast, I'm joined by Yvonne for a very real conversation about entrepreneurship. We're talking about the emotional roller coaster, the slow months, the self-doubt, the awkward networking, the behind the scenes work that nobody sees. We also talk about what happens when you stay the course, how confidence grows through action, how preparation pays off, how small, consistent efforts eventually turn into real momentum. This episode isn't about overnight success. It's about grit. It's about doing it afraid. It's about preparing like a professional, even when you don't feel like one yet. If you've ever wondered what it really looks like to build a sleep consulting business from the ground up, this conversation will give you an honest and encouraging look inside. Yvonne, welcome back to the Becoming a Sleep Consultant podcast. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you so much, Jane. I'm so excited to be here again.
Before we get started, tell everyone a little bit about you and why you wanted to become a certified sleep consultant.
Yeah, so I am a mom of two. I'm a former pediatric nurse. I was a stay-at-home mom for several years and then was looking to go back to work, but I knew I didn't want to go back to the hospital. I didn't want to do the shift work. I didn't want to work holidays. And with my pediatric nursing background, my friends ask me anything and everything about their kids. Sometimes I just have to tell them to go see their doctor. But I had a friend, his kids are younger than mine. He was really struggling with sleep. His wife had asked me kind of, what the heck do we do? And this is before I had any training, but I just told them what I would do in that situation. And his wife called me the next day and said, "Oh my God, like we had a good night of sleep. That was amazing." And my friend knew that I was looking for work at the time. And I thought he was joking, but he sent me a link to your program and was like, "I think you should look into this." And I honestly thought it was a joke at first. I just kind of brushed it off. And then I looked at your website and I'm like, I think I could do this. And I think this would be really cool and really fun. So I got on a phone call with you and signed up shortly after that. And I'm so glad that I did.
So take us back to when you first graduated. What were you expecting your first year in business to look like?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be tough. I didn't think it was just going to be, magically getting all these clients right out of the gate. But I don't think I realized how hard it was going to be and all the work that I was going to need to put into it. I thought I would have maybe a couple of clients per month, maybe go a little bit of time without having any. And it was a lot harder than that. I got a couple clients right out of the gate. And then I went several months without any clients. And then I had a couple more and then go another couple months. And it was frustrating. And, I kept kind of doing the things like every day I just kept working on my business. And, I just eventually things came together. But that first year was hard. It was really hard.
I think you were on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, right? Like the highs were really high and the lows were really low. And I hope it's okay that I'm sharing that on your behalf. We would have conversations where I could see you were just so down in the dumps and frustrated, feeling like this is never going to work. And then I'd hear from you 3 months later that you were like on the top of the world, And I think that is very typical in entrepreneurship, and especially for people who work in the hospital system. If you're a nurse or if you work in a school and you're a teacher, your work is very steady and predictable and you know what's coming, even if it's crazy. Like even if it's chaotic, it's a predictable level of chaos, right? And I think you were on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to share your story today because, look, I don't think the roller coaster ride is over. I think there will be other moments in
Yeah.
your entrepreneurial journey that feel like you're at the bottom again. That happens to all of
Yeah.
us. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to share what it looks like at the top a little bit because you're feeling like you finally have a handle on it, which I think is really, really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there were things that you did behind the scenes to continue your learning, to keep working when things were feeling really hard. Because I think what happens with a lot of people, and it didn't happen with you, is that people just stop. When business feels really hard, they just quit. And you didn't. So I'm wondering when things felt hard and when things felt slower, what were you doing behind the scenes to sort of keep it moving?
Yeah. So it is definitely, it's been an emotional roller coaster. And, I think if you are prepared for that, it's easier to deal with. And what I did was during those times where I didn't have any clients, I didn't know where I was going to be getting any clients. I just really took that time to try to work on my business, to reach out to people, to try to make connections. I joined like a business coaching program that was really helpful, and just take that downtime to work on things. Like when I first started out, my sleep plans were just like this Word doc, and it was fine, and I think my clients were okay with it. But looking back, I'm like, wow, it was a lot of words. Just like a bunch of words. And so I took that time. I used Canva and I created like a pretty document, and then I created a lead magnet that I could try to start building my email list, doing a lot of things like that. I listened to so many podcasts on anything from email list building to sales to marketing to sleep training, like everything. I really took those times where I didn't have the clients coming in, I wasn't making the sales, to really focus on learning and growth. Because when I am supporting a lot of clients, I don't have as much time for that sort of thing. And you do, as a business owner, you have to be working on all these things all the time. So just really focusing on taking those moments to do the things that I knew I wasn't going to have time to do when I was supporting a large client load. The other thing that I did is, and I still do this actually, when I'm writing a sleep plan, I scour the CPSM Facebook community for, if I'm working on a 6-month-old sleep plan, I'm searching for 6-month-old schedules and nap transitions and all of that, and just trying to learn from the community, right?
Yeah. I think you've always been really good at just digging deep. Like that is what I think separates you from others who maybe just lose steam or lose interest is you're just always willing to dig a little bit deeper. You have that grit and determination that I think doesn't come naturally necessarily. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't, you have to work really hard for it. And so I think that that's a major factor for you. I'm wondering where along the lines did your confidence shift? Because the way that you talk about your business now is with a completely different energy and a completely different aura than maybe 6 months ago. And so I'm
Mhm.
wondering how that happened. What did it take for you to really feel like, I've got this. I have a business. I can be really proud of myself.
Yeah, I think part of it was just starting to see like a consistent clients coming in, but also just even on those discovery calls where people are not maybe necessarily booking me, having these conversations and realizing that all that stuff I was doing a year ago actually was building to this point. I'll get on calls with people and they'll say, "Oh, I'm in this mom's group and everyone's raving about you." And I'm like, "What?" know? So kind of like hearing those things of, I'm not even aware that this mom's group is talking about me, but realizing that just that determination to not quit and just keep doing something every day to move me forward. When I kind of realized that worked, I think that's when my confidence really just, I started to actually feel confident, right?
Yeah. I think networking is a part of your business development strategy, right?
Mhm.
Can you speak into that a little bit? What does that look like? Who are you networking with? And what relationships would you say have blossomed? And I'm sure others are coming down the pipeline, hopefully.
Yeah. So networking did not come naturally or easily for me. And it still makes me nervous to reach out to someone and say, hey, would you like to get on a coffee chat? But I really, especially in the beginning, I really just forced myself to just reach out to people and anyone who might have a similar, audience that I was looking to, that would be my ideal client. I would reach out even when it felt hard, even when I worried, are they going to think I'm like crazy or, or rude or anything like that? I would just reach out over Instagram or email or walking into different clinics around my neighborhood and just, putting myself out there, even when I didn't want to, because most of the time I didn't want to. And I found some people just weren't interested. And I had to just say, that's okay, and just move on and not make it about me. I had some really awkward conversations, like Zoom conversations that I would get off the phone and just think, okay, all right, that's
That
not
was
going
not it.
anywhere. And
That
that's
wasn't it.
okay. That's all right. And then I've had some really great connections with I go and do a lot of talks at different moms groups. I'll do Q&As, actually virtual Q&As as well, and like WhatsApp groups. And I find those connections have been the greatest for me. This is where I'm finding that a lot of my clients are coming from. And I've also found like I had one experience where I had kind of reached out to this woman. I went to some of her events, but wasn't really there just wasn't a lot of traction there. But then a woman that I met at her event started her own thing. And it was just like, I never would have thought that, so you never know where a connection might lead, right? And it might not even be the person that you initially connected with. They might know someone who you should get connected with, right? So just reaching out to anyone you can, right? And not being afraid. Or if you're afraid, just doing it afraid. you
Yeah.
know?
And do you feel like now you're less afraid? I mean, if you think back to a year or a
Yeah,
year and a half ago, what it took for you to do that outreach, make those connections, have those conversations, and how you were feeling on the inside compared to, if
yeah,
you're going to connect with somebody now, I imagine the anxiety level is
for
down.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You do definitely gain some just confidence and momentum and all of that. I will say the first time I ever went and did a talk at one of these moms groups, I had launched my business in August. This talk was like at the beginning of December. And I was like terrified. I wrote out, the talk that I was going to give. I practiced it. I recorded it. I listened to it back and I went and I did the talk and it went really well. I was so afraid a mom was going to ask me a question that I wasn't going to know the answer to. I was terrified of that. And I came home and my husband asked me, he said, how did it go? And I said, it was great. It went so well. And his comment was funny. He's like, well, of course it did. You prepared like you were giving a TED talk to 25,000 people. And now when I do these talks, I feel much more confident. I prepare a bit, but I don't, I just go and
You
I
jot
show
down a few
up.
notes, you have a cheat
Yeah,
sheet
yeah,
and you
yeah,
go.
yeah. Right.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and
So,
I think that's such a great share because just the fact that you were willing to put in the time and the energy to prepare so that you could feel comfortable and that you could show up as a professional, I think speaks volumes. I think not everybody does that. I think some people think, oh, I'm giving a talk, I'm scared, I'm totally unprepared, I'm going to go do it. And who knows
Mhm.
what comes of that? Maybe they do great. I mean,
Right.
that's sort of how I was. I was sort of more impulsive when I was starting my business. I did not do a whole lot of prep, but I just sort of relied on my knowledge. And
Mhm.
I definitely was a little bit more comfortable speaking in front of people. That was always a part of
Right.
what I did. I was definitely more impulsive, but if that felt like what you needed to be successful in the beginning, the fact that you
Yeah.
did that for yourself, I think is really commendable because a lot of
Mhm.
people will not do the preparation. They won't set themselves up for success. And then they've wasted an opportunity where they really could have made some great connections and
Yeah.
impressed a room of moms,
Mhm.
but they didn't because they weren't prepared.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I am determined to succeed, right? So I will do whatever it takes, even when it feels scary, even when it's a lot of work. I will do what it takes because I want this to be successful. I always have.
I can tell that the whole networking and business development side of your business is coming easier to you. That's clear from our
Mhm.
conversation. Do you also feel like the client
Mhm.
support side is coming more naturally? I think I
Yeah.
remember in the beginning that you really, and this is okay. This is amazing that you did this. I don't point it out to say it as anything other than to compliment you, but you did lean very heavily on our CPSM community. Like when you landed a client, you asked 15 questions and you really sought out all the support and all of the information. And now I don't really see you doing that. I actually see you answering other people's questions. So I'm going to gather that the client support side has also become more natural for you. But can you speak into that a little bit? Do you feel like you really do feel more comfortable?
I do. Yeah, I definitely do. And part of that is just the confidence, right? Of I am a sleep consultant, right? I have a successful business and I still do lean into the CPSM community when something's a little bit tricky. I mean, I have had some tricky cases recently, but I think I feel more confident in putting something out there for my client, giving them a sleep plan, and then if something is a little off, then I'll go to the CPSM community. But I think as you have more clients and you see that like this works, right? When parents implement your sleep plan correctly, like it does work. And so just seeing more and more clients being successful helps me to realize, okay, I do know what I'm doing. Your confidence does build as you go and as you get more clients. And yeah, but the CPSM community is always there for you. And that feels like a great safety net for me. So
Yeah, and you should always have that. I never
yeah,
want anyone to feel like, oh, they've been in business 3 years, they can't ask a
right.
question. They should.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do see a shift. It's not just with you, but I see a shift that somewhere along the lines, people go from being the ones who ask all the
Yeah.
questions to being the ones who answer all the questions. And I think that's
Yeah.
really beautiful. And for people who are listening, who are perhaps just getting started or even just thinking about getting into this field, I think it's really important that we be transparent about the fact that there's a learning curve here, right? Like with
Mhm.
any new career, if you were to start in nursing tomorrow, it would feel really overwhelming and complicated and hard. And then a couple of years in, you're like, oh, I'm a pro. I've got this. I think
Yeah.
that's true with anything.
Yeah.
And for many women who are just starting in this field, it's their second act, right? Like they've already
Yeah.
been a teacher or they've already been an accountant or whatever they are, and this is their second act. It feels really overwhelming sometimes
Yeah.
to feel like you're starting from the beginning again. That's an
Yeah.
overwhelming feeling.
Yeah. I remember in the beginning when I would see all these questions and I was like on the Facebook community and I almost was I don't know even how to describe it, but I felt like I should be contributing more, but I didn't always know the answer. And I think just like some advice is just get in there and just participate in the community, because I think you learn that way. And it feels really good now when I see those questions. I'm like, oh, I can help this person. I love that.
Is there anything that you wish that you worried about less, like in hindsight, the things that really used to get you bogged down that now you can say, that was not a good use of my mental energy?
Yeah, I think just worrying about what people would think about all kinds of things, right? About my journey to become a sleep consultant. I know there were some people in my life who were like, what are you doing? You know? And I think had I just been able to not worry about that at all, it would have just, I mean, I still did it. I still, it didn't change my path, but it would have just made my path then a little bit easier if I wasn't worrying about what those people thought. And getting on social media, I've tried to build up an Instagram following and creating reels, and it's fun. But in the beginning, I used to film those reels like 40 times before I would post it. And now I'm like, all right, I'm just going to film a reel and I'll throw it out there. And, like I wanted it to be perfect. So just not worrying so much about what others think. And then also just like getting out there and trying things with the networking, just not worrying about what someone thinks. And I did that. I did it anyway. But in my mind, especially in the beginning, there was a lot more inner chatter of, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? Oh my gosh, I sounded stupid saying that. Oh, all these things. That I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, that actually, what you touched on is really relatable. I felt that as well when I was first getting started in this field. Prior to becoming a sleep consultant, I did about a 4-year stint as a stay-at-home mom. And before
Mhm.
that, I was more in the corporate world. I worked for a big catering company in Washington, D.C. in sales. And I was home for 4 years and then felt like I wanted something more. I wanted to be working. I wanted to contribute financially. I wanted to use my brain like an adult again. I had all of these feelings of wanting more than stay at home mom life, which I had a lot of guilt around because what a privilege, right? I was so
Mhm.
lucky to be able to be home and prioritize just caring for my kids and raising them. And yet that didn't feel like enough for me. And I was a little bit embarrassed, is almost the word I want to use, to say that I wanted to do this. And putting that out there to the world was really something that tripped me up a little bit,
Mhm.
And I think so many people feel that way. They either have some sort of professional career that feels really different or maybe more official or more prestigious or whatever, however you want to look at it, right? Like you were a nurse and now
Yeah.
you're sleep consulting and like, why aren't you doing nursing? Because I don't want to do nursing. Nursing wasn't bringing
Right.
me joy, right? There's
That's,
so many reasons. And
yeah.
and so really looking that straight in the eye and saying, yeah, this feels a little embarrassing or it feels uncomfortable or
Mhm.
I don't know what people are going to think or what people are saying. I still think about that. I use Facebook primarily to grow my business and I every single week I post on my main Facebook page, I post about my podcast and it's every week self promotion. What do people say? Do they say, "Oh, all she cares about is sharing about her own podcast?" I don't know. It's how I grow my business. It's what I do.
Right.
And I've had to get over the idea that maybe there are some people in the background who are saying things about, and maybe they're not, maybe nobody's paying
Right.
attention, right? Like, isn't that what Allison Henderson always says? Like, nobody's paying attention to you. Stop
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
nobody cares. And she's probably right about that. But I think in our
Yeah.
minds, we all struggle with that a little bit. Like, what is
Yeah.
everybody else going to think? What is everybody else going to say? But to all the haters, I have a really successful business and now
Right.
so do you. And
Yeah.
we're working on ourselves and we're growing and we're challenging ourselves. And who cares? If you're happy, get out and do the thing. And, what I know is I have a ton of cheerleaders and I think you have a ton of cheerleaders too.
Mhm.
And so we can't worry about what people might be thinking or might be
Right.
saying. And we just have to surround ourselves with people who believe in the work that we do and are cheering us on and making us feel really great about everything we're working on. I don't know. That's my rant on my soapbox for today.
I couldn't agree more.
If you could go back and give yourself a piece of advice beyond don't worry about what other people say, what would that be?
I think it would be like the journey that you're on is the journey that you're meant for. And you don't know where it's going to take you. And that's okay. Just trust that you're on the right path. As long as you are enjoying life and you feel fulfilled, then just keep going. There were moments over the last year that I wondered, am I doing the right thing? I honestly, over the summer, I was crying to my husband almost every day, going, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not getting any clients. What am I doing? And he said to me, he said, but are you enjoying going to these moms groups and working on your website? And that was the thing. I actually was enjoying it. I just had this idea that I was supposed to be making money more quickly, right? And so I said, yeah, no, I am enjoying it. And he said, just keep doing it, right? And it was shortly after that things kind of started to click. And I realized, okay, my journey was a little bit slower than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. I was always meant to be on this path. So.
What an amazing husband you have. I think that's fantastic that he noticed that even when your business was feeling slow and you were feeling frustrated mentally, that really he could tell, he knew you still loved this work and you were enjoying connecting with moms, you were enjoying the opportunities that you did have to support families. And I love that he just encouraged you to keep going, because I really do think that you are at a point right now in your business. I don't know if you fully believe it yet, but I see it where you do have momentum. You are at a point where you're getting discovery calls, you are landing clients, it's happening. And that doesn't mean that one random, August or November, it'll be slow. That happens. It happens to all of us. But you, I think, are at the point now where you have a real business and it's going to continue to grow and you're doing great things. Your confidence is up and, it's only good things from here, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I really do.
I love that you feel that, because you have not always felt that. So I love that you're feeling that. I love that you're feeling that. Before we wrap up, do you want to share where people can follow you, your website, Instagram, whatever you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. So my Instagram is just Yvonne_sleep consultant. I'm not as active on Facebook, but Facebook is just Dreamworthy Sleeps. And my website is www.dreamworthysleeps.com.
Yvonne, this was so great to catch up. I love where you are right now in your business. Keep up the good work, and we'll have to check in again soon.
Thanks so much, Jane. That would be great.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Becoming a Sleep Consultant podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean so much to me if you would rate, review, and subscribe. When you rate, review, and subscribe, this helps the podcast reach a greater audience. I am so grateful for your support. If you would like to learn more about how you can become a certified sleep consultant, head over to my Facebook group, Becoming a Sleep Consultant, or to my website, thecpsm.com. Thanks so much, and I hope you will tune in for the next episode.